podcast where people reach their goals and develop confidence one mind shift habit at a time. Let's join our host, Certified Coach Christina.
Hello. Welcome to this episode of Conversations with Coach. I am your host, Christina Callaway. I'm a mindset coach for athletes, parents, and coaches, helping them to reach their goals one mind shift habit at a time. I am excited that you are here. I hope everybody's doing well and that you're keeping yourself safe during these times that we're in. On this episode of Conversations with Coach, we are going to revisit a very important topic to us all, and that's self-advocacy. The importance of that, I cannot stress enough. Being your own self-advocate when you are dealing with your healthcare providers, when you are at work, just everyday interactions, and being able to do that proper so that we don't get labels put on us such as the angry person or the very aggressive person. We want to be able to be wonderful self-advocates as well as making sure that they are effective and that we're doing it in the right time. Well, if this has piqued your interest, I'm going to pause and let you contact your friends or hit that share button and invite them to join us because I am bringing back, I won't call her a guest, but she is special because after you've been on Conversations with Coach once, you're no longer a guest, you are family. And the person who's going to help us discover about self-advocacy is none other than Jessica Wilson. Yep, you remember that name from when she was with us before. Her story captured my attention on Instagram, and the very first time I knew that I had to reach out to her. I'm just going to give you a little bit of information. Jessica Wilson, as I said, is a self-advocacy coach from Pittsburgh, and she currently lives in Atlanta. And I forgot about that until recently. I was looking on her Instagram. I was like, that's right, she is in Atlanta, not too far from me. She works with minorities in race, gender, education, socioeconomic, and all of everything that encompasses that, teaching them effective methods to speak up for themselves in the medical, employment, and personal relationship spaces. After experiencing a difficult twin pregnancy in 2017 and being diagnosed with breast cancer in 2020, Jessica knows that many people shy away from advocating for themselves when speaking to those perceived as authoritative figures, especially doctors and nurses. How many of you can identify with that? And this time that we're in, our voice has to be very strong in the medical. She believes that self-advocacy is a crucial life skill that we all should possess, and her goal is for everyone to strengthen their competencies and put it into practice. We all know it doesn't really count unless we put the action behind it. I want you to put some love in the chat, and let's welcome back our family, Jessica Wilson. Hey, Jess.
Hey, girl. Hey, how are you?
Girl, hey. I am so excited that you are here. I'm not going to spill the beans too early, but I've just been watching you on social media and I've been watching your growth, and I am super proud. My heart gets so happy every time I see something, and I'm so excited for you to share with the audience what it is, what's going on. Now, I did give a little bit of information about you from your bio. However, there may be some first-time guests and they don't know your story. How about you kind of catch everybody up?
Okay, so let's start with the 2017. 2017, I'm pregnant with twins, and of course it's going to be a little bit challenging. Everything in my life happens at the same time, so of course I couldn't have one kid, I had to have two. And so I ended up hospitalized, hospital bed rest for 7 weeks, bed rest at home for another 4. I finally make it to 33 weeks and 4 days, and then I delivered my girl. So while they were 6.5 weeks early, I actually went into preterm labor at 22 weeks. So things could have
Wow.
been drastically different, but I was able to just, follow directions, stay put in the hospital, and go through some sort of self advocacy issues there. But my real aha moment came with that breast cancer diagnosis.
Wow.
So, July 2020, with no family history, nothing, just came out of the blue. Jessica Wilson diagnosed with stage 3 inflammatory breast cancer. As you can imagine, that is a shock. No one's expecting that, especially being in your early 30s with no family history. That's kind of like the last thing on your mind. You're thinking, okay, it'll be a while before I need to get mammograms and things like that. But nope, for me, that time was now.
Wow.
And with the oncology department at the hospital I was initially at, the oncologist I was assigned to, I knew from day one, day two, that it was not going to be a good fit. I
Oh.
got the feeling and the vibe from him that he really couldn't care less whether I lived or died.
Mm.
He didn't show any sort of emotion. There was no, I'm sorry, this is happening to you, but we're going to get through this. There was none of that. It was more of a, yeah, you have breast cancer, you're stage 3, here's a standard course of treatment. And as he's going through and explaining the treatment, he looks at his notes and sees that I'm an engineer. And then he proceeds to tell me to my face, but you're an engineer, you understand all of this. And then he immediately starts speaking to me as if I'm a colleague, using all kinds of jargon. And I'm just standing there like a deer in headlights, like, so am I going to die or what's happening? Like, this is not giving me the warm and fuzzies. And I was
Right.
like, yeah. So my oncologist is like the quarterback of the team. Like, my life is in his hands. He's leading this thing here. So this is
Uh-huh.
not going to work for me. And so I
Right.
made sure to speak up to, it was actually my gynecologist that referred me to get the mammogram and all of those things. And I
Mhm.
was like, hey, like, me and him have an awesome relationship. So I'm like, yeah, this isn't working over here. And he's like, if that's not working for you, then I want you to transfer to this other hospital network. And mind you, he wasn't even a part of that other hospital network.
Oh,
But me
wow.
and him having such a great relationship, he knew how important this would be. And he was the one that kind of said, all right, if you want to switch, be sure I will move all your medical records over to them. I'll make sure they have everything they need. He got me set up with the breast surgeon and with the new oncologist, all of that. He was able to be my quarterback until I got to a new oncologist. And it's been a night and day difference. Yes, I've been battling for 2 years, but I firmly believe that I probably either A, would not be here, or
Mhm.
B, would not be as healthy as I am right now had I
Mhm.
stayed with that first oncologist. So self advocacy can literally mean the difference between life and death, especially in my condition.
Especially, that is good. I had forgotten some of that, what you just shared with everyone. As you said, getting a diagnosis of cancer is one that no one wants to hear. There may be someone who is viewing, or they may have a family member, and they have just gotten that news, and they are scared. They are obviously not at their optimum health. What would you, through your experience that you've had so far, what would you share with them as it relates to going through it and just wrapping their mind around it, and the fact that it does not have to be a death sentence as we have been made to believe and as we've seen?
Mhm. I will say that it doesn't have to be a death sentence, but as a Black woman, we tend to die a little bit more often than folks who are not Black women. So it doesn't have to be a death sentence, but to ensure it doesn't become one, you need to stay vigilant, you need to stay on top of things, and you need to make sure that you are with a doctor or a medical team that you can trust literally with your life. I would
Mhm.
say to someone that has just recently gotten this news, it's okay. You're going to feel literally all the feels. You're going to be sad, you're going to be terrified, you're going to be angry, and it's important to allow yourself to feel all those things. You're
Mm.
going to kill yourself from the inside if you try to smother and kind of hold it all in and try to always be that strong person. That
Mhm.
strong people cry, strong people have emotion, strong people let it out. And I will
Mhm.
say that the one thing that I think has been amazing throughout this entire thing has been my therapist. I
Oh,
literally talk to her every week. So if I got good news at the doctor's office, bad news at the doctor's office, if I'm feeling stressed about work, if I feel like I'm becoming a burden, all these things that are going through my mind, I
right.
know that I have someone that is just there to listen. I can dump all of it. I can have word vomit. I can
Mhm.
cry. I can scream. I can snot. It can get as ugly or as beautiful as it needs to be. But
Right.
knowing that I have that other person that's there, that's
Mhm.
not my husband or my mom or my dad or my best friend, or you kind of feel guilty for always continuously feeling like you're being the negative person in the room. You
Right.
have this therapist that you can just be free, be yourself, let it out. And they can
Mm.
also help you build coping skills. They can help you come up with the language to communicate with your family members when you need a
Mhm.
break or whenever you need additional help or whenever you're
Mhm.
not feeling well. Having that therapist kind of in your back pocket will kind of help you navigate through all of the big emotions and the good news, the bad news, the happy days, the sad days. They're there with you every step of the way. So a good therapist is just as important as a good oncologist to me.
Girl, that is the shown of truth. Because I will tell you, I have one because a lot of times people don't understand that mental health is on the same level of importance as any other health issue that you may have. And
Hmm.
I know that it gives me comfort knowing that I can get in touch with her or get a session with her to dump
Hmm.
whatever's got me just all bound up. And it's in your mind. We
Hmm.
go to the gym and work out our physical bodies, but our brain muscle, which
Hmm.
controls
Everything.
everything, and it's got such a taboo, like,
Uh-huh.
oh, you're seeing a therapist. I keep saying one day it's going to happen where we're going to reverse it, and we're going to be
Hmm.
like, oh, you don't have one.
Uh-huh. I need it to become the norm. Like literally, you need a good chiropractor, a good therapist, and
Yes,
a good acupuncturist. And I will tell you, I've started acupuncture. Girl,
yes,
girl,
yes,
nightmare.
ma'am. Let me tell
Yes,
you
ma'am.
how that has changed my life.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I'm telling you now, I was experiencing something some weeks back, and I said, "Oh no, I'm not going to go through life like this. There has got
Exactly.
to be a part of my foot that a needle can go in and turn
Ma'am.
this back off."
Between the pressure points and those needle points, it's like,
Yes.
okay, I'll be back. Don't you even worry. I'll be back.
Listen, my well care team, I've got the traditional doctors on my well care team, but on my holistic well care team,
Ma'am.
I've got my herbalist, I've got my
Hmm.
acupuncturist, and I've got my massage therapist.
Yes, ma'am.
And let me tell you, my doctors are very much aware. If they go to write me a script, my PCP says, I don't even know why I'm doing this. You're not going to take it. You're
There you
right.
go. There you
You're
go.
right. I can't wrap my mind around something that is
Uh-huh.
supposed to make me feel better, but it's got all these other things that I got to look out
Right.
for. So there's
Right.
got to be a better way.
Nope. Just adjust my back, throw a couple pins in there, and I'll be good. Like, I'm not taking
Exactly.
this medication every day for this headache when I can just fix the problem instead of treating the symptom.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Exactly. Every time I'm laughing because when I go see my acupuncturist, she is treating me for one thing, and I'm like, oh, by the way, this
Uh-huh.
is going on. This. She goes, oh, okay, we'll take care of that today too.
Right. Right.
It is
I walk in and I'm
wonderful.
like, it's like you're a magician. This is like witchcraft. How in
It's
the world are you pressing my toe and my shoulder feels better? Like,
yes,
it's insane. It is insane. And I love it.
I do too. I absolutely love it. As you were talking, you brought up things that really relate to my niche as a mindset.
Hmm.
Having the right mindset, how important is that as you are going through this medical crisis?
It is like extremely important because once your brain decides I'm done, there's nothing your body can do to combat that. Once your brain decides, you know what, this sucks, but I can continue on. This is just a
Mhm,
bad moment, not a bad life. What is life going to be like on the other side of this? If you can kind of focus on the good times and get your
mhm,
brain to stay there more often than it stays in the negative place, then
mhm.
I think your health overall just feels better. The
Right.
sun shines and you're able to smile. Sometimes just smiling and laughing can make you feel better, even
Yes.
whenever you're still in pain. And I think that's another reason why God blessed me with those twins. I have two little 4-year-old bundles of joy who are natural comedians, even whenever they're being dead serious. And so,
I
even if
love
I'm in
it.
the middle of just being sick and in pain and just not feeling it, they can walk
Right.
in and they might have on like a weird outfit, but all of a sudden they want to be an animal for the day and I have to address them as such. And it's like, okay, how do I tell this dog to go potty? Like and it becomes a challenge, but it's fun and it's interesting and it keeps me going. And I'll
Yeah.
also say that that's where that therapy comes in, because
Mhm.
I'm also planning on like maybe writing a book about my entire experience and all of the things I've had to go through in life and how I've been able to overcome them.
Mhm.
But I found myself hitting a wall when it came to writing about the cancer part. And so I'm
Oh,
talking to my therapist about it, and I'm like, yeah, but having to write about such heavy topics kind of just bring me down and make me sad. And she said, well, maybe you need to change the way you're thinking about the book.
oh,
Why did you want to write the book in the first place? And I
that's
said, I
good.
want to help people go through other things in life, whether it's cancer or not, to
Mhm.
help them see someone else's faith journey. Because there are good days where me and God are like best friends, and then there are days where it's like, you know what? When I meet you in 100 years, I got some questions because, sir, ma'am, no, this was not
Right.
okay.
It's like,
And
like
so
the thing that you see
she's
on
helping me kind of,
Instagram. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Or
oh,
can,
finish the thing on Instagram. Go ahead.
oh, sorry. I thought, listen, you know what happens when you're live?
Hmm.
I want to make sure.
Everything.
So here, like when you said, you know what? It reminded me of that thing on Instagram when people put that voice with their video and they're like, you know what? Don't even worry about it. Don't
Hmm.
even worry about it.
Hmm.
That's
Hmm.
exactly true.
Yes, that's how I be like. I just want to swallow these pills, God. You ain't gonna help me get this 800 milligram ibuprofen horse pill down? Are you gonna let me struggle?
Wow.
Okay, I'm gonna talk to you about this later. But
Exactly. And you bring up a really good, I mean, I know we're being lighthearted about it, and that's fine, but you bring up a really good point. Sometimes people don't understand that whole process of grief, so to speak.
hmm,
That when you are angry with everybody, including
yes,
God. And it doesn't
yes,
mean that you don't have faith anymore. It's just that
exactly.
you are dealing with a lot of heavy stuff.
Hmm.
And your emotions, as you said earlier, they are all over the place. And
Hmm.
then, things settle down and you get back into your space. But I just wanted to make sure that everybody is aware of your mind controls literally everything about you. Without
Hmm.
it, we would not exist.
Nope.
And having a mind that is focused on the positives and your healing, it helps you to feel better. When you said just smile, a
Hmm.
smile can do so much. I remember I listened to someone on satellite, and his closing, every time he's ending for the day or his segment, he says, remember to smile. You're not fully dressed unless you're wearing one.
Exactly.
And it's so true. If anyone would just try it for a little bit, just smile and then try to be angry at the same time. It cancels each other out. You can't. I mean,
Right.
you physically can't do it.
Uh-huh.
And it takes fewer muscles to smile than it does to frown. And
Hmm.
as women, we want to
We
be,
got to keep these lines away. Keep them at bay.
we
Give
got
me
to
some
keep
laugh
them.
lines. I don't need no frown lines.
Okay, so we got to keep the smile
Uh-huh.
coming, and even in adversity. Fine, bring us up to speed on the self advocacy part of your breast cancer now, 2 years later.
So 2 years later, I've gone through several rounds of chemo, several different chemo drugs. I've had the mastectomy. Things are going great. The cancer comes back on my skin. So now I have to go back to chemo. And now we're still trying to figure out how do we kick this cancer's butt and get rid of it once and for all. And
Hmm.
you would think that, okay, 2 years, same medical team, everything must be a well oiled machine. And it is for the most part,
Hmm.
but that does not mean that I can get complacent. I can't just sit back and be like, all right, well, the doctors have it now. If they suggest a new chemo drug for me to take, it's okay, well, let me do my research as well. How long has the drug been out? What are some of the
Yeah,
side effects I need to be on the lookout for? Do I have any medications on hand or anything like ginger or anything on hand to help me kind of mitigate some of these side effects without having to go to medical route?
right.
Unfortunately, while undergoing chemo, the side effects are pretty heavy. So you may need some ginger, but you're also going to need some nausea medication on top of that ginger. So
Exactly.
sometimes you just can't do it with what you got in the pantry.
You
Sometimes you
did.
actually need the medication.
You
but I
do.
do try to keep the medication at the minimal level I can to ensure that I
Mhm.
actually have a good quality of life. While I'm
Yeah.
going through things, it's like my doctors are great, but there's every once in a while where they'll have an appointment scheduled on the wrong day. Or I'm supposed to get a shot to boost my white blood cell count before my chemo, and they have it scheduled for after the chemo. So I have
Ah,
to get on the portal and be like, yeah, someone got this date wrong. And then someone will
right.
try to, not argue with me, but kind of prove
Mhm.
to me that I'm wrong, which that's what I want. Don't just tell me I'm wrong. Try to prove to me that I'm wrong. And they're like,
Right.
well, it looks like you always get your chemo 5 days. I mean, you always get the shot 5 days after. And I was like, I appreciate your response, but it's not 5 days after. I get it on Wednesday and I have chemo on Friday. So it's 2 days before.
Two
And
days
then they
before.
didn't say anything back. So then my doctor has to chime in, like, yes, Miss Wilson, correct. Please move this appointment there. And it's like some folks don't really know that Miss Wilson's normally always correct because I'm on top of my health stuff. But I appreciated them at least looking and checking and making sure,
Right.
you know what I mean? If I'm going to be wrong, you have to prove to me that I'm wrong. So I appreciated that. There was no slight, there were no hard feelings, but it just goes to show that you have to stay on top of things. Don't just think that, okay, we've been doing this for a while and I'll just go in the routine. No,
Mhm.
check to make sure that your dates are right. Check to make sure that the times are right.
Right.
Um, for instance, I was supposed to get an echocardiogram to check my heart before I
Mhm.
started this round of chemo.
Mhm.
No one told me beforehand. So
Oh.
I go in for the first round of this drug, and my nurse is like, well, have you had an echo? And I was like, no. And she was just like, oh. And I was like, oh, what? I don't think so. While we're in the infusion center and I'm already hooked up and we're ready to go. And
Yeah.
she's like, well, now I have to get approval for you to get treated without the echo. And she did get the approval. But then crickets. No one scheduled my echo, and I'm coming up for the second one now.
Oh,
So I reach out to my
no.
medical team and say, hey, remember someone said I need to get an echo? And then all of
Right.
a sudden I get a phone call a week later, like, yeah, we want to schedule you for your echo. But get this, there's no availability until August. I'm supposed to get my next chemo next Friday. So now what do we do? So now I'm reaching out again, like, okay, so I'm getting this chemo regardless. So I need whoever to have their pre-authorizations ready because I'm not
Right.
skipping a round of chemo because someone on that side failed to do their job. But
Yes.
bringing this up now ensures that A, I promise it'll never happen to me again. But
Right.
B, for whoever comes after me that gets this drug, now it's in everyone's mind. Hey, let's make sure we get these echoes scheduled on time. So sometimes I feel like I'm the guinea pig, but I also feel like I was assigned this journey, this mountain, because someone like me needs to be able to do this, to point things out, to be able to take the drugs and the side effects and be able to still speak and be transparent. So I'm okay.
That is such a healthy way to think about it because I can't imagine the fight that you've been in for the last 2 years. I've listened to you share with me your stories and the different aspects of it, and cannot even begin to wrap my mind around that. And I appreciate the fact that you have such a positive mindset as you are going through it because you have said to yourself, I was chosen for a reason. This was allowed in my life for a reason. And you looked for that reason. That doesn't mean that every day is a happy day and you're smiling.
Absolutely not.
Right. It does not mean that. But it does mean that you have found techniques and ways to cope with the cloudy part.
Yes.
And there may be some in the audience that may be listening and they really don't understand the word self-advocacy. Like, I hear what
Hmm.
you're saying, but I don't even know what that is. I don't even know what that looks like. I mean, have I been doing it? And if I have I been doing it the wrong way?
Hmm.
Or I kind of know what it is, and I think that I'm doing, but I'm not getting the results that I feel that I need. Can you share with the viewers exactly what self-advocacy means?
So I would say, in short, self advocacy is speaking up for yourself, advocating for yourself, mentioning the things that you need in hopes that someone will meet those needs. So to break it down, self advocacy can be broken down into three main parts: it's knowing yourself, knowing what it is that you need, and then knowing how to get those needs met. So if you feel like it's not being effective, you're probably having a breakdown in one of those three areas. So knowing yourself. For instance, I know that I cannot swallow pills with just liquid. I need food. So if there's an option for me to get either something that's chewable, something that dissolves, I'm always going to ask for those options first. If not, then I'm going to go and take the pill and always make sure that I have applesauce or yogurt or something available to meet that need. I know myself.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever I go to the doctors, knowing what it is that I want. I want to make sure that after these chemo treatments, I am as comfortable as possible. Cancer is uncomfortable. We get that. But I don't have to be in constant pain. I don't have to be constantly sick. I don't have to be constantly just down. And
Right.
having a doctor team that wants me to live life, wants me to have a good quality of life despite, helps
Mm-hmm.
that as well. So
Mm-hmm.
now that I know myself, I know what it is that I want. How do I get those needs met? I go
Mm-hmm.
into the doctor's office with my list of questions. I go into the doctor's office with my concerns, things that I'm worried about. I go
Mm-hmm.
into the doctor's office with my husband because whether it's a good news day, bad news day, we may both hear something totally different. If
Right.
they say this cancer has grown, after I hear grown, what if I just tune out? But my
Yes.
husband's still listening and they can say this cancer tumor has grown by millimeters. So I'm over here distraught. But once we get in the car, once we get home, he can be like, well, babe, Dad, this one grew, but it only grew by like the width of your fingernail. When you
Mm-hmm.
put that in perspective with your whole body, it's not really that bad. And then we're able to logically talk through it. But in
Mm-hmm.
those moments, it's like,
Yeah.
I may not be receiving all of this. So I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to bring someone with me. We're going to jot down notes. We're going to have them tell us things in multiple formats. So
Mm-hmm.
they'll tell us something and then maybe they'll share it with us in written form on the portal. So we don't
Mm-hmm.
always have to sit there and try to rely on our memories. We can say,
Mm-hmm.
oh, okay, what was that lab result, or what was the name of that drug or that treatment or that doctor they want me to go see? We have that kind of a written form. So knowing how to walk in there, ask your questions, pretty much like I said, have them prove to you that you're wrong if you guys
Right.
disagree on something. That is how I go about making sure my needs are met. And to date, it's been serving me well. So my goal was to try to help everyone else get served just as well at their doctor's appointments.
That is wonderful. I love it. And you the way when you're talking about it, you're so passionate about it, and you make it sound as if it is doable. Sometimes I feel like people have hit so many closed doors or hit so
Hmm.
many brick walls that they are just exhausted and they do give up. And it's so important that you are in this space to help them to see, no, you can push through that. Have you tried this? I want to remind people that you didn't become this self-advocacy coach when you were diagnosed with breast cancer.
No.
When did that journey actually start for you?
I have been advocating for myself pretty much my entire life. I guess it's one of those innate skills that I just have. I'm the friend that people are calling for advice. How do I say this to this person? Does this sound right? How do I do this at work? Or I don't know. I'm not really meshing with my therapist. And I'm like, oh, well, here's what I would do. Go
Right.
online and you one and this, that, and the third, and make sure you leave a review and do A, B, and C. Like that's always been me. Even
Mm-hmm.
whenever I was pregnant with the girls in the hospital, I had doctors coming in trying to give me medications that other doctors had said you can't have anymore. So, for
Mm-hmm.
instance, like I was having contractions and they were trying to give me a shot to stop the contractions, but one of the side effects was it would increase my heart rate. Well,
Mm.
apparently my heart rate shot through the roof. And the
Ooh.
doctor that gave it to me initially was like, under no circumstance do you get this again. And I said, yes, sir. Right.
Yeah.
So a few days later, the contractions start again. A new doctor walks in. I guess they're on call and they're like, let's give you this shot. And I'm like, no. And they're like, what do you mean, no? And I'm like, N-O? No. Like,
That's a complete sentence, sir. If you
yes,
have not been told that,
it is the
you
same in
learned that
English and
today.
Spanish. Like, no.
It is no. Universal
Right.
word. No.
Right, right. And I don't know if a lot of women in that instance would either A, remember to say no, or B, feel comfortable saying no. But at this point, it's not just my kid's life on the line, it's all three of us. So
Right.
absolutely not. You're going to have to pin me down to give me this shot. And by the time that happens, my husband will be in here, and then this will just be a total different story.
Yeah.
So they had to find a plan B, another way to stop my contractions, which they were able to do. But then the doctor came back around and said, now explain to me why you can't get this medication. And I said, oh, because the last guy that was in here a couple days ago told me I can't and I shouldn't because it made my heart rate increase. And this doctor said, well, it makes everyone's heart rate increase. And I said, okay, well, I am not getting this shot again. Like, it doesn't matter what it does to everybody else. We're talking
Right.
about me right here, right now, pregnant, on hospital bed rest, with two tiny babies in my belly. No.
Right. Yeah.
And that
Exactly.
was that. So sometimes you have to continue to push back, and you don't
Yeah.
have to be rude, mean, or nasty about it, but a
Mm,
firm no is a firm no, and I meant it. So
exactly. And you bring up such a important reason or way. We don't have to be angry as we are being persistent in what we know is best for us.
yes.
Having said that, we know as Black women, when we become that, the persistent, we get labeled the angry Black woman. Help the audience and those who are in there, Black women that are watching or that may be watching the replay, help them to overcome that stereotype and maybe to do a self check, because maybe sometimes we are coming across angry because in the heat of the moment we are. Talk with the audience about those labels that can maybe sometimes unfairly be put on us, or maybe we don't need to own it.
I mean, sometimes we are angry and we are Black women. So there are going to be times in our life where we are angry Black women.
Right.
But why is that kind of like the Black on Black crime? Don't we call out angry white women? Like all women get angry.
Correct.
So accept the fact that you are a woman and you are allowed to be angry. I know
Mm-hmm.
that as Black women, we tend to kind of dull ourselves down for
Right.
fear of being too much for somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
But there are times where if you don't speak up for yourself, no one, literally no one will.
Ain't nobody gonna do that.
Like
Mm,
no one. There are
nobody.
times where my husband's not around. Who is going to
Okay.
speak up for me if I don't speak up for me toward this white man, to this white woman, to this Black man, to this Black woman? It doesn't matter. I
Right.
need to be confident that I know myself and I know myself best. Once
Mm-hmm.
you can accept that and get that mindset going, then you'll
Mm-hmm.
be able to confidently speak about your needs without feeling like you need to be extra loud or extra aggressive because you have that confidence. A lot of times when people are extra loud, sometimes the loudest person in the room is the most insecure one.
There you
Once you're
go.
confident in yourself and you're like, okay, I'm going through this, but I know for a fact I'm not getting that shot again and I
Mm-hmm.
can't take this pill. As you're talking to the doctor or whoever, they can say whatever they want to say. At the end of the day, if you said no and they continue to try to do something, that's a
Mm-hmm.
lawsuit. So they're only going to push, but so far. If you mean no, then stand on that no. Um,
Exactly.
I feel like a lot of times whenever you're interacting with a new doctor or a new medical team like I was, you don't
Mhm.
quite know that person's personality.
Right.
But in general, most people aren't in emergency situations every time they go to the doctors. So the
Right.
key is to find the doctor, the therapist, whoever, that you have a great relationship way before you're actually in a time of crisis. So that if something does happen, like with my gynecologist, we're like this. I've referred people to him. He's delivered my friends' babies. And it's just like, I can reach out to him about anything. If I
Yeah.
needed a therapist, I know I could go back to my gynecologist and he would be able to refer me to somebody. That's
Right.
not his specialty at all, but we have such a great relationship that
Yeah.
I know that if anything were to happen gynecologically, like he would be there. If I need
Right.
to talk to a therapist, I have someone there. If I
Right.
needed to refer someone to a good oncologist, I have one. I can
Yeah.
do all these things because you're not supposed to often wait until you're in the moment having the actual crisis to try to reach out because now your brain's all over the place.
Right.
But if you make sure you have a good relationship with your PCP, and then whenever you go see them every years you go, that helps things a lot. That person
Yeah.
gets to know your personality. You know
Yes.
their personality. So they know even if you are in there and you're crying or yelling, they're not taking it personally because they
Right.
know you. They
Yeah.
know you during the normal happy times. And they know this is just an example of stressed out Jessica. What can
Yeah.
we do to help her? So the key
Exactly.
is to try to have the team, the support system around you way before it becomes crucial crunch time.
You're exactly right. The importance of developing relationships with your people, whether it's your
Your
health
people.
team or people at work or
Mm-hmm.
your family, is just very
Mm-hmm.
important to cultivate those relationships. Not everybody's doctor is going to give them their personal contact number for them to reach out. I've built a relationship with my PCP and it's like that. I have that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I want to ask you, it's been 2 years now, as you mentioned. I'm curious to know, has the need for advocating for yourself decreased any?
Um, I wouldn't say it decreased. I will say it has shifted. Initially, with that initial oncologist, it was like critical I need to advocate for myself because he literally might just let me die. I can say that being down here, once I switched and had a couple of sessions with my oncologist, was the first time I felt like I could take a deep breath and be like, okay, I'm not going to die. Like I'm going to live. And now that I can like get that out the way, now I can focus on the smaller things. So like I
Mhm.
mentioned, having to worry about scheduling issues and conflicts, things like that. Kind of lightweight. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's important. I need to make sure I get all the chemo treatments and all the shots and all. But that's totally different than my doctor really doesn't care. He's not really trying to think outside the box to save my life. So it's not on the same scale, but I have to advocate for different things that are kind of on a smaller scale.
Mhm.
Maybe I need to go get a shot and the nurse is supposed to put it in like the meaty back part of my arm, but she
Mhm.
gets the alcohol swab and she's cleaning up here. And I'm like, that's a bone. Why are we giving shots up there? And so in that
Right.
moment, it's like, do I speak up or do I just sit there and let her give me a shot in the spot I know is about to hurt? I'm going to speak up and say, the last 17 times I got this shot, they like to put it down here. Can we try down there? It might be a little bit easier for you and me. And saying it
Mhm.
like that instead of, girl, what you doing? Don't you give me that shot in my shoulder? Because then she's like, oh, I've been a
Right.
nurse for 17 years. You're not going to. And then it's like, it all
Exactly.
goes downhill from there. Versus,
Exactly.
I would prefer if you would do it down here. Is that okay? So there are ways to say things, there are ways to ask things. And no, I haven't had to decrease. It's just on a slightly different scale.
Right. As I'm sitting here listening to you talk, I feel comfortable doing exactly what you just said. And I do that often in terms of advocating for myself. There are people, however, who are not. They're just not comfortable and they'll be quiet to their detriment. I know that you are embarking on, or most recently, you just launched something that will actually help
I did.
those who don't have, can't, you will help people find their voice. And for
Mhm.
those who have their voice already, you have launched something that's going to help everyone to become better self advocates. And I want you to talk about your launch.
Yay! Okay, so it's been a labor of love. I've been working on this for so long, and I'm so excited that it's finally available for everybody. So I have released a course, an online course you can take at your own pace. It is called From Patient to Partner: How to Regain Control After Diagnosis. And I will say that while I was going through the whole process of being diagnosed, I had to get ultrasounds and mammograms and biopsies. And while you're going through all of this, everything is just like on hold. You're just waiting for results and waiting for results and what's next, what's next, what's next. I needed to give myself a process that I could anchor to so that what's next, it was like, all right, so I need to find if this is cancer,
Mhm.
what's a cancer doctor called? Like literally starting from the beginning. All right, so
Yeah.
I need an oncologist. Okay,
Mhm.
who are some of the best known oncologists in my area? And it's like,
Mhm.
okay, let's go find that out. Who do they associate with for surgery? Let's find a surgeon. And so I was
Mhm.
able to do all these things and have a process to anchor to. And so I'm thinking, well, for other folks that have, maybe you don't have cancer, maybe you were just diagnosed with lupus, maybe you're just diagnosed with high blood pressure, diabetes. It doesn't have to be something that's like literally threatening your life immediately, but what can I do to give you a process to anchor to? Okay, you've been diagnosed. Here's what we're going to do now. Now you need to do a little bit of research, but not too much. And here's how I suggest you do this research. Google can be your friend, Google could be your absolute worst enemy.
You
So,
can.
what do we do from here? How do we move forward? Okay, so you got those notes. All right, when you go into your doctor's appointment, what questions do you have? You can't come up
Exactly.
with any? I have a list of questions that you can bring into your doctor's appointment. Let's write those questions down. Let's
Oh,
have an
that's
agenda. And
wonderful.
I have lots of just digital downloads for folks. So if you don't have a journal to write down any of your health information to track what your symptoms are like for day to day, I have something that you can download for free within the course. So it gives folks a lot of ways to take back that control.
Oh, I
I think
love
doctors
it.
love active and engaged patients, and this course kind of helps set you up to become just that. And then once you
Oh,
start to see those results, everything just starts to snowball. So you're feeling better, you're looking better, you're doing better, your doctor's excited, everyone's on track, and then you get to live that life that you want, the life you need, and the life you deserve. So my goal is to help as many people as possible achieve that with my course.
Oh, I am so happy for you. Like I said, I've been watching you on social media and you've been doing the countdown. I was like, I am so excited for her. And
Oh,
so
thank
it
you,
is
ma'am.
now launched. And I would like for everyone who knows somebody that as she was talking, you saw the people in your mind, like, oh my God,
Hmm.
this would be great for this person. This would be great. Think about it in terms of the gift that you can give to them. A lot of times when someone is dealing with something in a crisis, those of us that care about them want to fix it.
Hmm.
Obviously, we can't, and we start feeling really bad. And some people will assign guilt to themselves. This is a way that you can give them something that will help them. You can purchase the course for them and gift
Hmm.
it to them that way. When people are dealing with medical crises, it's expensive. A
Yes.
lot of things are not covered by the insurance, and the individuals are left to foot that bill. We don't want to burden them. They've already got enough that they're dealing with. But if you've ever sat there and asked yourself, I wish, or said to yourself, I wish I could help. I wish that there was something I could do. I don't feel like I'm doing enough. I want to do more. This is the more. You're going to be able to purchase this course for them. It's self-guided, and going through it with them, offer to go through it with them so that on days when they're not feeling their best, you can be there for them. And this brings me to our call to action. This is where you will be able to follow Jess on all of her social media platforms. And she puts out great posts, very informative. Some of them are super funny. And and just get you thinking. So make sure you are following her. And you don't have to worry. I'm going to include this in the show notes. Here is where you're going to go and purchase that course for yourself, for your loved one who's going through something. You're going to visit her website and go through there and go ahead and purchase. You all are so supportive of me. I know that you are going to support Jess in this launch and this endeavor because it is just so needed. And I'm super excited for you. I am super proud of you.
Thank
And
you.
whatever way that I can do to help you, to help this course become known around the world, I want to be able to do my part. And just in
Thank
case
you.
if you don't live in the United States, but you're watching this episode, you can still go on her website and purchase that.
Absolutely.
This is
The
a
internet is
universal
everywhere.
course everywhere. Jess, before I let you go, I want to do a final thought. It's been 2 years for you, and it's been several months since you were here last on Conversations with Coach. And in that time, what is the one mindset shift that you would like to leave with the audience as it relates to self advocacy?
I would say that you need to fully accept the fact that nobody knows you better than you. And if someone does know you better than you, then it's truly time for you to start journaling, getting into therapy. Why is it that you trust someone else? You trust them and you have more confidence in them knowing you than you knowing yourself. Whether this is your husband, your identical twin, your mom, no one should know you better than you. And it is your responsibility to ensure that you get the treatment that you want, the treatment you need, and the treatment that you deserve. If you can't take that first step, then how can you try to blame anything on anybody else? It all starts with you.
That is very good. We are the only ones that know us the best.
That's it.
And with that, thank you for coming on. I really
Thanks for
appreciate
having
it.
me.
Oh, next time we can't make it go that long. That was too long of a space. We gotta have you back sooner than that, so you can keep us
Okay.
updated. In fact, we'll talk and get something scheduled so that we can see how much your new course is taking off and benefiting everybody.
Okay. I can't wait to come back and share.
All right, thank you, Jessica. I'm going to say
Thanks,
goodbye to the
Christy.
audience, and I'll be right with you.
Okay.
There you have it. I love having Jessica on and listening to her story. She is just the model for how to go through your trials. And it doesn't necessarily only have to be with a serious diagnosis as the one that she's battling right now. But as she mentioned, you could have just received a report about you could have just been laid off of your job. You could have just gotten news about another family member that's going through something, or maybe your relationships, you're in a relationship and you're not being the best advocate for yourself in that relationship. Maybe you feel like it's the relationship is one-sided and it's causing you to not feel so good about yourself. Learning how to become that self-advocate literally is life-changing. And again, I want to reiterate and encourage everyone to visit Jess's website and to purchase this course. It's self-led, do it at your own pace. As a matter of fact, even if you don't find yourself in this situation, this would be a good tool to have in your toolbox. So if and when you are faced with it, you'll be like, whoop, hold on a second, I've got something for that. And that's all about being empowered and being a self-advocate for you. So give it as a gift to someone or gift it to yourself. You all know where to find me on social media because you're already there. I would appreciate you sharing it with some others who may not be following us. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn at Christina Mindset Coach. I'm working on my Pinterest, and as soon as that's ready, I will be adding it so that you can follow me there. Also, you can find me on my website, and maybe you don't have the confidence or you haven't found your voice, and you are wanting to be that person. You're wanting to be like Jess is when she goes into her appointment or when she's getting treatment. She can emphatically and intelligently tell them that that's not going to serve me. I understand that it works well for everyone else. However, for me, it doesn't. And then you don't have to get those uncomfortable labels slapped on yourself. Well, if you need to get that extra boost of confidence, this is where you reach out to me because I am the mindset and confidence coach. And we will identify those things and those challenge areas where you can find your voice and advocate for yourself. Well, we've come to an end and it always seems to go extremely fast, but I will see you here next week, same time, same place. And remember, your life is only as good as your mindset. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for tuning in to Conversations with Coach. Please be sure to follow Coach Christina on all of her social media platforms. And remember, life is only as good as your mindset.